mind becomes tired, the body follows. When the spirit becomes heavy, even the smallest task feels like a mountain. So let me ask you something. Have you ever felt your thoughts spinning so fast that silence itself becomes uncomfortable? Have you ever felt that your mind is not resting even when your body is still? This is the sign that stress has entered the temple of your mind. And if you do not protect this temple, everything built inside it will begin to crumble. To protect your brain from stress, you must first understand that the mind is not your enemy. It is your most loyal student. It learns from how you react, how you breathe, how you think. If you constantly feed it fear, worry, and noise, it will grow restless. But if you feed it stillness, patience, and awareness, it becomes your greatest protector. The question is not how to fight stress, but how to stop creating it. Every day, your brain receives thousands of signals. Some are useful, most are not. The secret is to stop collecting everything. Do not let every thought, every word, every opinion find a home inside your head. Just because something enters your ears does not mean it must stay in your mind. Learn the art of mental filtering. The moment you learn to filter, you protect your peace. One of the strongest shields for your brain is your breath. When you breathe shallow, your thoughts become shallow. When you breathe deep, your awareness deepens. Breathing is not only to survive, it is to connect the body with the mind. So, when stress visits you, do not react, pause, breathe. Let your breath remind your brain that there is no danger in this moment. Because most of the time, stress is not real danger. It is imagination wearing the mask of fear. Another protection is movement. The body carries the weight of the mind. When you move, you help your thoughts to flow again. Walk, stretch, train. Let your body remind the brain that life is still in motion, and nothing is as heavy as it feels. The stillness of the mind grows from the movement of the body. Do not underestimate this connection. Silence is also a medicine, but not every silence is peace. The silence filled with regret and overthinking is not healing. The silence filled with awareness and calm observation is. Each day, take a few moments to step away from the noise. No music, no talking, no scrolling. Just listen to what your thoughts are saying. Observe them like clouds passing in the sky. You do not have to chase them. You only have to watch them go. Master your breath, and you will master your mind. It sounds simple, yet within these few words lies one of the most powerful truths about how to protect your brain from stress. The breath is the bridge between the body and the mind. It is the invisible thread that connects thought with emotion, awareness with reaction, calm with chaos. When you lose control of your breath, your mind begins to drift into confusion, tension, and fear. But when you learn to breathe with awareness, you hold the key to calmness and mental clarity. Most people breathe without noticing it. They inhale quickly, exhale without depth, and move through the day without once realizing how shallow their breathing has become. When stress enters, the breath shortens. When the breath shortens, the body tightens. When the body tightens, the brain interprets it as danger. This is how the cycle of stress begins, not from what happens outside, but from how the body reacts inside. By mastering your breath, you break this cycle. You teach your brain that even when the world becomes heavy, you remain in control. Think of your breath as your personal anchor. No matter where your thoughts try to take you, into the past filled with regrets or into a future filled with worries, the breath keeps you grounded in the present. It reminds you that this moment, right now, is all you truly have. The mind can wander thousands of miles in a second, but the breath can bring it home in one conscious inhale. Stress cannot survive in the mind that lives fully in the present. The way you breathe can also change how your brain functions. Deep breathing sends a message to your nervous system that it is safe to relax. The heart slows, muscles release, and blood flows freely to the brain. It clears mental fog, improves focus, and softens the emotional noise that stress creates. Every deep breath you take tells your brain, I am safe. Every shallow breath tells it, I am under attack. This is why ancient teachings, modern science, and mindful practices all meet at one point. Control your breath, and you control your state of mind. When you feel stress rising, pause for a moment and notice your breathing. Do not try to fight your thoughts or suppress your emotions. Simply breathe. Inhale deeply through the nose, hold for a second, and exhale slowly through the mouth. Feel the air entering and leaving. Feel your chest rise and fall. This simple act slows your thoughts, calms your nervous system, and clears your emotional space. It is not magic. It is awareness in action. Breath is not only air entering your body. It is energy entering your awareness. Every breath you take can either fill you with calm or feed your anxiety. The difference lies in how conscious you are of it. When you breathe with intention, you become the master of your inner atmosphere. You can walk through chaos without absorbing it. You can listen to noise without losing your silence. That is the true power of mastering your breath. In moments of deep stress, when words cannot help and logic fails, turn to your breath. It will never betray you. It will never abandon you. It is always with you, waiting to guide you back to balance. Many people look for peace outside, in places, in people, in distractions. But peace begins within, with a single slow breath. The mind often behaves like a storm. Thoughts swirl, emotions rise, and clarity disappears. But even in the middle of the storm, there is a center that remains still. Your breath is that center. Return to it, and you will find peace even while the storm continues around you. This is not escape, it is mastery. The breath teaches the brain to adapt, to stay awake, to stay steady. To master your breath is to master your reaction. You cannot always control what happens, but you can control how you respond. When stress appears, do not meet it with panic. Meet it with presence. Meet it with the calm rhythm of your own breathing. Each breath is a reminder that you are alive, that you are capable, that you are in command of your mind. So let every breath you take be a conscious choice, not an unconscious habit. Let it bring you back from fear, back from worry, back into this exact moment. Protect your brain not through resistance, but through rhythm. The rhythm of calm, slow, intentional breathing. When you master your breath, your mind no longer controls you, you control your mind. And in that mastery, stress loses its power. That is where peace begins. One breath at a time. Guard your thoughts as carefully as you guard your health. Because what you allow to stay in your mind shapes not only your emotions, but also your entire reality. The brain is not a garbage bin for every worry, rumor, or negative opinion that passes by. It is a sacred space where your life takes form. Every thought you allow to stay becomes a seed, and that seed grows into your mood, your behavior, and eventually, your destiny. If you truly want to protect your brain from stress, you must begin by becoming the guardian of your thoughts. Many people are careful about what they eat, how they dress, and where they live, but they are careless about what they allow to enter their minds. They let other people's anger, fear, and drama take up residence in their thoughts. Slowly, those emotions become their own. This is how stress silently builds. The brain begins to process too much information, too much negativity, and it becomes tired and confused. You cannot stop negative thoughts from appearing, but you can stop them from staying. Just as you would not drink something poisonous, do not allow poisonous thoughts to settle in your mind. Your thoughts are the language your brain listens to. When you repeat words of worry, your brain believes there is danger. When you focus on what is wrong, your brain releases chemicals that prepare you for threat. But when you focus on peace, solutions, and gratitude, your brain releases chemicals that help you relax and heal. What you think literally changes how your brain functions. This is not philosophy, it is science supported by your daily experience. Every emotion begins as a thought, and every thought carries energy. Guarding your thoughts means guarding your emotional energy. Be selective about what you expose your mind to. The conversations you keep, the news you watch, the social media you scroll, all of these things are feeding your brain. Ask yourself often, is this making me calm or chaotic? Is this thought helping me grow or keeping me stuck? Protecting your brain from stress does not always mean avoiding challenges. It means protecting your attention from unnecessary noise. You do not have to think about everything. You do not have to respond to every opinion. Peace does not come from controlling the world. It comes from controlling what enters your inner world. Sometimes, a single negative thought repeated too often becomes a belief, and a belief repeated too long becomes your reality. The brain cannot tell the difference between a real threat and a repeatedly imagined one. That is why people suffer more in imagination than in reality. So if you do not guard your thoughts, your brain will live in a constant state of survival. You will begin to feel tired even when nothing is happening. You will carry stress not because life is difficult, but because the mind has forgotten how to rest. To guard your thoughts, you must first become aware of them. Watch them without judgment. Notice how some thoughts come like guests and others come like invaders. When you feel your energy drop or your emotions tighten, stop and ask, what thought am I entertaining right now? Is it true? Is it useful? Most of the time, you will realize that your stress is born from stories your mind keeps repeating. When you see them clearly, you can choose not to feed them. Awareness is the first step toward freedom. The next step is replacing what is harmful with what is healing. Instead of letting your mind dwell on what could go wrong, train it to ask what could go right. Instead of focusing on what you lack, remind yourself of what you have. It is not about forcing positivity, it is about choosing clarity. You cannot think two thoughts at the same time. So whenever stress arises, give your brain a new direction. Feed it with truth, peace, and perspective. Be gentle with yourself. Guarding your thoughts does not mean you will never think negatively. It means you do not let negativity drive your actions. It means you notice it, breathe through it, and let it pass. The mind will always try to wander, but you do not have to follow it every time. You can choose to stay centered. You can choose to be the gatekeeper of your own peace. Remember, every great building has guards not because it is weak, but because it holds something valuable. Your mind holds the most valuable treasure you own, your peace, your focus, your awareness. Protect it. Do not let every thought enter without permission. Let only what uplifts, strengthens, and calms you stay within. When you learn to guard your thoughts, you will notice how the brain begins to breathe again. The noise softens, the stress lightens, and clarity returns. The mind no longer feels attacked because you are no longer feeding it confusion. What remains is quiet strength, the kind that cannot be shaken easily. And that is the true protection of the brain from stress. Movement releases the mind from invisible tension. The body and brain are not separate, they are two sides of the same energy. When one becomes stuck, the other begins to suffer. Stress often hides itself not only in thoughts, but in muscles, posture, and breathing patterns. You can feel it as tight shoulders, a heavy chest, or a stiff neck. What most people do not realize is that mental stillness often begins with physical movement. When you move the body, you allow the mind to release what it has been silently holding. Stress loves stillness when it is the wrong kind of stillness. The kind where the body is frozen but the mind is running wild. In those moments, movement becomes medicine. It is not only about exercise or fitness, it is about freeing the flow of energy that stress tries to block. Every time you move, you create rhythm. Every time you stretch, you tell your brain it is safe to let go. This is how the body speaks to the mind, not through words but through motion. When you sit too long, the brain begins to slow. When you move, the brain wakes up. It releases chemicals that elevate your mood, improve focus, and calm the nervous system. The body begins to breathe deeper. The heart pumps stronger, and suddenly the fog in your head starts to clear. That is why walking after a long day, stretching when you feel heavy, or simply standing to breathe can shift your entire mental state. It is not about intensity, it is about awareness. Conscious movement is a form of meditation. Imagine stress as a river blocked by stones. The more you think and worry without action, the more stones collect. Movement is the act of removing them one by one, allowing the water to flow again. When your body moves, your emotions move. When your emotions move, your thoughts begin to flow freely. You no longer feel trapped inside your own head. Even a few minutes of slow walking, gentle stretching, or mindful breathing can change how your brain perceives the world around you. The brain thrives on oxygen, and oxygen thrives on movement. The moment you begin to move, the lungs expand, the heart beats rhythmically, and the brain receives the message of renewal. You feel lighter, more focused, and less burdened. This is not because your problems have disappeared, but because your body has reminded your mind that you are alive and capable of handling them. Stress weakens when you stop overthinking and start moving with purpose. You do not need a gym or complex routines to protect your brain from stress. Simplicity is enough. Step outside and feel the wind. Take deep breaths as you walk. Notice how your steps create rhythm with your heartbeat. These small movements create harmony between your physical and mental world. The goal is not to escape your thoughts, but to give them space to breathe. A still body under pressure traps emotions. A moving body releases them. Movement is also a form of grounding. When stress pulls your thoughts into the future or drags you into the past, your body is the one thing that exists only in the present. When you move consciously, you remind your brain to return to now. You cannot walk yesterday or stretch tomorrow. You can only move today. This awareness of the present moment is the doorway to calmness. Some people believe that to protect the brain from stress, they must think harder, plan better, or analyze deeper. But sometimes, thinking less and moving more brings greater clarity. The brain is not meant to carry the entire weight of your emotions alone. It needs the support of your body. When you learn to move with awareness, not to achieve something, but to release something, you begin to understand that peace does not come from standing still, but from staying in flow. Even the smallest movements matter. Rolling your shoulders, opening your palms, relaxing your jaw, each one tells your brain that it is safe to rest. The body teaches the mind how to relax, just as the mind can teach the body how to endure. When both are in harmony, stress has no place to stay. The body becomes the teacher, and the mind becomes the student. To protect your brain from stress, do not let the body become a prison for tension. Let it become a path for freedom. Move often, move gently, move with purpose. The more you move, the lighter the mind feels. The weight of thoughts begins to dissolve, and what remains is space. Space for peace, space for clarity, space for balance. In the end, movement is not only about the body. It is about the spirit learning to let go. And when you learn to move with awareness, you will find that stress can no longer hold you captive. Because your body and your mind will always know how to return to flow. Silence is not emptiness, it is the reset of the brain. In a world that constantly demands noise, attention, and reaction, silence has become a forgotten language. People often confuse silence with loneliness, but true silence is not the absence of sound. It is the presence of awareness. It is in silence that the mind learns to breathe again, to process, to rest, and to heal. Protecting your brain from stress begins when you learn to value this sacred stillness that modern life keeps trying to steal from you. The brain is like a sponge, always absorbing conversations, screens, worries, and emotions. Every sound and thought leaves a mark. Without silence, There is no space for the mind to release what it has collected. You cannot keep pouring into a cup that is already full. Yet many people live like this every day, filling their minds with endless distractions. Silence is the moment when the cup is emptied, when thoughts are given room to settle. It is in this stillness that the brain reorganizes itself, clears the fog, and restores focus. Stress often hides behind constant mental activity. The mind jumps from one thought to another, unable to find rest. This constant movement burns energy, weakens attention, and leaves you mentally exhausted. But when you allow silence to enter your day, even for a few minutes, the brain begins to slow down. It moves from reaction to reflection, from chaos to calm. In silence, the nervous system relaxes, and your inner rhythm returns to balance. Silence is not about escaping the world. It is about returning to yourself. When you sit quietly, without a phone, without music, without talking, you begin to hear something that has always been there. Your own thoughts, your own emotions, your own truth. It can feel uncomfortable at first because silence exposes what you have been ignoring. But this is where healing begins. The brain cannot heal what it does not acknowledge. Through silence, awareness grows, and with awareness, stress loses its grip. There are two kinds of silence: the silence of avoidance and the silence of awareness. The first is when you withdraw from the world to escape your problems. The second is when you step into silence to face them with clarity. The first kind deepens confusion. The second kind brings peace. Learn to choose the silence of awareness. Sit in it not to run from life, but to reconnect with it. It is in those quiet moments that solutions appear naturally, without force, without panic. Your brain needs silence just as your body needs sleep. Sleep rests the body, but silence rests the mind. If your mind is always working, even rest feels heavy. That is why so many people wake up tired, because their thoughts never stop moving. When you spend time in silence, you give your brain permission to reset. The constant noise of thoughts begins to soften, and what remains is clarity. It is not that problems disappear, but your way of seeing them changes. Silence also strengthens focus. When you live surrounded by noise, your attention becomes scattered. But in silence, your awareness sharpens. You begin to notice details that were hidden. You hear your own intuition more clearly. You start understanding what truly matters and what does not. In this way, silence becomes not just a break, but a form of training. Training your mind to stay calm, stable, and alert. Even a few moments of silence each day can protect your brain from the overload of modern living. You do not need a mountain or a monastery. You only need intention. Wake up early and sit quietly before the world begins to speak. Pause during the day and take a few silent breaths before reacting. End your evening in silence, letting the mind release the day's weight. These small rituals tell your brain that it is safe to rest, that it does not have to solve everything at once. Silence is the home of peace. Within it, you realize that calmness was never something you had to search for. It was always waiting behind the noise. The brain, once given silence, begins to heal itself. It learns to slow down, to observe without judgment, to breathe without resistance. You start to feel a deep stillness that no stress can shake. When you allow silence to be part of your life, you stop reacting to every disturbance and start responding with awareness. You become less influenced by noise and more guided by clarity. The outer world may still be loud, but your inner world becomes untouchable. So make peace with silence. Welcome it as your daily companion, not as a stranger. Let it clear your mind, soften your thoughts, and remind you of the calm that lives within you. Because in silence, the brain finds its way back to balance, and the heart rediscovers its rhythm. And in that stillness, stress has no place to stay. Gratitude turns pressure into peace. It is one of the simplest yet most powerful ways to protect your brain from stress. The human mind is naturally drawn to what is missing, what is wrong, or what might go wrong. This survival instinct once helped us stay alive. But in the modern world, it often turns into unnecessary anxiety. The brain keeps scanning for problems, even when there is no real danger. Gratitude is the key that breaks this pattern. It teaches the brain to look at life not through fear, but through appreciation. When you wake up in the morning and focus immediately on your worries, your brain begins to release stress hormones. But if you take a moment to notice what is good, what is working, what you already have, your brain begins to calm. The chemistry of gratitude is real. It activates the parts of the brain that create happiness and shuts down those that feed fear. You cannot feel stressed and grateful at the same time because the brain cannot hold both emotions together. Gratitude replaces tension with balance. Stress often grows when we focus too much on what we cannot control. Gratitude shifts attention back to what we can. When you appreciate the small things, a deep breath, a sunrise, a kind word, your brain learns to rest in the present moment instead of chasing perfection. Each time you express gratitude, you are telling your brain, there is enough. I am enough. This message breaks the endless loop of dissatisfaction that keeps the mind restless. Gratitude is not about ignoring pain or pretending that everything is perfect. It is about choosing to see what is still beautiful even in difficulty. Life will always bring moments of struggle, but gratitude helps the brain interpret them differently. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? The grateful mind asks, what can I learn from this? That small change in perspective transforms stress into strength. It turns obstacles into teachers and pain into wisdom. The brain is a reflection of what it repeatedly thinks. If you fill it daily with gratitude, it begins to rewire itself toward positivity. You start noticing goodness more easily. Your reactions become softer, your patience grows, and your emotional balance strengthens. Gratitude builds mental immunity. Just as the body becomes stronger when fed with nourishing food, the brain becomes calmer when fed with thankful thoughts. Many people wait for something big to feel grateful, but gratitude begins in the smallest moments. When you take a slow breath and realize you are alive, that is gratitude. When you look around and see that you still have people who care for you, that is gratitude. When you fail but still have the courage to try again, that is gratitude. The brain needs these reminders, not occasionally but daily. They become the anchor that keeps your thoughts steady when life becomes stormy. Stress often arises when the mind lives in the gap between what is and what should be. Gratitude closes that gap. It teaches acceptance without giving up effort. It helps you move forward with peace instead of pressure. Even during hard times, when everything seems uncertain, gratitude whispers, there is still something good here. That whisper is enough to keep the brain from falling into despair. Practicing gratitude does not require complicated rituals. It only requires awareness. You can write down 3 things you appreciate each day. You can silently thank someone who helped you. You can simply pause and breathe before a meal, acknowledging that you are being sustained. Each act of gratitude creates a spark of calm inside the brain. Over time, those sparks grow into a steady light that no stress can easily dim. When you live with gratitude, your relationships improve too. You become less focused on what others lack and more aware of what they bring. You respond with kindness instead of frustration. The more you appreciate, the less you compare. The less you compare, the lighter the mind feels. Stress loses its power when appreciation takes its place. Gratitude also strengthens resilience. It does not remove the waves of life, but it helps you surf them with grace. When challenges come, a grateful mind does not panic. It adapts. It finds lessons where others find losses. The brain that practices gratitude becomes flexible, creative, and calm. It stops treating every situation as a threat and starts treating it as a teacher. So whenever you feel overwhelmed, stop and find one thing to be thankful for. It could be as simple as your breath, your heartbeat, or the ability to start again. This small shift changes the direction of your thoughts. Gratitude does not need a reason, it only needs recognition. And when you recognize the good that is already around you, your brain relaxes, your heart softens, and peace returns naturally. Gratitude is not an escape from reality, it is the purest way to see reality. It teaches you that life is not always easy, but it is still beautiful. And when you train your brain to see beauty more than burden, you no longer need to fight stress, because peace will already live within you. Detach from what you cannot control, and the mind will find rest. The brain was not made to carry the weight of every situation, every outcome, or every person's behavior. Yet this is what most people try to do every day. They worry about the past that cannot be changed and the future that has not yet come. They replay conversations, overanalyze actions, and hold on to what they wish could have been different. This attachment to control is one of the main sources of mental exhaustion. The moment you begin to release what is beyond your reach, your brain begins to breathe again. The truth is, control is an illusion that the mind creates to feel safe. It believes that if it can predict or manage everything, it will avoid pain. But life does not work through control, it works through flow. Trying to hold on too tightly to everything is like clenching your fist around water. The harder you try, the more it slips away. Stress grows in that tightness. Peace grows in release. Detachment does not mean indifference. It means understanding where your power ends and where trust must begin. When the brain tries to control everything, it enters a constant state of alertness. The body tightens, the heart rate rises, and the nervous system stays on edge. You start feeling restless even when nothing is happening. This is not living. It is surviving. Detachment is the medicine that returns the brain to balance. It teaches you to focus on what can be done in the present moment and let go of what belongs to time. The mind becomes lighter because it no longer fights with what it cannot fix. Detachment is not the rejection of emotion. It is the mastery of emotion. It allows you to feel deeply without losing yourself in those feelings. You can care about someone, love them, and still not be destroyed by their choices. You can give your best effort to your work or dream, and still accept that the result is not always in your control. This balance protects the brain from the constant cycle of stress that comes from expectation and disappointment. Imagine the mind as a sky and thoughts as clouds. Some clouds are light and gentle, others dark and heavy. If you try to chase or control them, you will only tire yourself. Detachment is standing in the sky and watching the clouds pass, knowing that none of them define the sky itself. The same is true for stress. It passes when you stop holding it too tightly. Your job is not to control every cloud. It is to remain steady as the sky. The practice of detachment begins with awareness. Notice what your mind keeps trying to control. It might be someone's opinion, a mistake you made, or an outcome you fear. Ask yourself, is this within my influence? If the answer is no, release it. If the answer is yes, act wisely, and then release it anyway. Detachment does not mean inaction, it means doing your part and then trusting the process. The more you practice this, the more your brain learns to rest even while life continues to move. Stress often disguises itself as responsibility. You think that worrying means caring, that overthinking means preparing, but in truth, it only drains your energy. True responsibility is doing what you can with awareness and letting go of what you cannot control. Detachment brings strength, not weakness. It gives you the mental clarity to respond instead of react. It allows you to face challenges with peace instead of panic. When you learn to detach, you realize how much of your stress was never yours to carry. You begin to understand that the world does not always follow your plan, and it doesn't have to. The brain finds peace when it stops resisting what is. Acceptance becomes the gateway to freedom. You no longer need to fix everything to feel safe, You simply trust that whatever happens, you can handle it. Even in relationships, detachment protects the mind. It helps you love without losing yourself. You can offer support without absorbing another person's pain. You can listen without internalizing their chaos. This kind of emotional independence keeps your brain healthy and steady. It keeps your energy focused on what truly matters: your peace, your growth, your awareness. To detach is to honor reality. It is to stop trying to control the wind and instead learn how to adjust your sail. When you do, stress loses its grip because it feeds on resistance. Let go and the struggle fades. The brain begins to operate in calm efficiency rather than anxious control. So, each day, remind yourself that not everything needs to be fixed. Not every question needs an answer. And not every storm needs your fight. Do what you can. Accept what you must and release what you cannot change. In that release, your brain finds rest, your heart finds space, and your spirit finds freedom. And that is where true peace begins. Feed your brain with calm, focus, and purpose every single day. The mind is like soil. Whatever you plant in it will grow. If you fill it with noise, confusion, and doubt, stress will bloom like weeds. But if you feed it with calmness, clear direction, and meaningful intention, it will grow strong, balanced, and peaceful. Protecting your brain from stress is not a single act. It is a daily practice of nourishment. The brain needs food, but not just from what you eat. It also needs emotional and mental nutrition. What you think, what you see, what you repeat, and what you believe all become the meals that feed your mind. Every morning when you wake up, your brain begins to absorb information. The first thoughts you choose determine the energy of your day. If you begin with worry, your brain will stay tense. But if you begin with calm awareness, your brain starts in balance. Feeding your brain with calm means giving it moments of stillness before the day's noise takes over. It can be a few quiet breaths, a peaceful walk, or simply sitting without rushing. Calm is not laziness. It is the foundation on which clarity stands. A calm brain can solve problems. A chaotic one only multiplies them. Focus is another form of nourishment. In the modern world, attention is under attack. The constant stream of messages, notifications, and distractions keeps pulling the brain in many directions. Each time you shift your focus without awareness, your mental energy drains. This scattered attention weakens your ability to handle stress, because the brain is not built to process endless interruptions. Feeding your brain with focus means training it to stay with one thing at a time. When you work, work fully. When you rest, rest completely. When you listen, truly listen. The brain thrives in rhythm, not in restlessness. Purpose is the deepest nourishment of all. The brain finds strength when it knows why it is doing something. Stress often grows not from doing too much, but from doing without meaning. When you move without purpose, even small tasks feel heavy. But when your actions align with your values, even challenges feel lighter. Purpose gives the brain direction. It tells your thoughts where to go instead of letting them wander aimlessly. To protect your brain from stress, remind yourself each day why you do what you do. Without purpose, energy scatters. With purpose, energy flows. The quality of your thoughts determines the quality of your mind. If you constantly consume negativity, through news, gossip, or self-criticism, you feed your brain poison. The mind cannot stay peaceful when its diet is full of fear and comparison. Choose wisely what you expose yourself to. Read something that uplifts you. Speak words that bring light. Spend time with people who encourage growth. These are not small things, they are daily nutrients for your brain. The more you feed it with calm energy, the more resilient it becomes against stress. Feeding the brain also means giving it rest. Just as muscles need recovery after effort, the brain needs pauses between demands. Silence, sleep, and mindfulness are not luxuries. They are necessary meals for mental health. When you ignore them, the brain begins to lose clarity. it starts reacting instead of responding. But when you give it time to reset, it organizes thoughts, heals emotional strain, and strengthens focus. A rested mind is a peaceful mind. Be aware of yourself, talk as well. The words you say to yourself shape your brain's chemistry. If you constantly repeat that you are tired, unlucky, or not enough, the brain believes it. But if you feed it encouragement, patience, and compassion, it learns to calm down. Speak to yourself the way you would speak to someone you love. Every kind word is a dose of peace for your nervous system. Feeding the brain with calm, focus, and purpose is not about ignoring reality. It is about preparing the mind to face reality with balance. Stress is not always the problem. How the brain interprets it is. When you nurture your mental environment, stress no longer finds easy access. The mind becomes like a clear lake. Even if stones are thrown, the ripples fade quickly. Every day offers you two choices: to feed your brain with fear or to feed it with strength. What you choose will shape not only your emotions, but also your entire way of living. So take time to give your mind what it truly needs: peace in thoughts, direction in actions, and purpose in the heart. The more consciously you feed your brain, the more it protects you in return. When calm becomes your atmosphere, focus becomes your discipline, and purpose becomes your path, stress can no longer control your mind. It will visit, but it will not stay, because a nourished brain knows how to rest, how to release, and how to return to peace, no matter what the world brings. In the end, protecting your brain from stress is not about escaping life. It is about mastering the way you live it. It is about learning to breathe with awareness, to guide your thoughts with care, to move with purpose, and to rest in silence when the world grows loud. Your brain is not just an organ. It is the command center of your existence, the lens through which you experience every emotion, every challenge, and every moment of peace. When you learn to nurture it with calmness, focus, and gratitude, you no longer fight against life. You flow with it. Stress will always exist, but it does not have to own you. You have the power to train your mind to stay steady in the storm, to see clearly when chaos surrounds you, and to find meaning in the moments that test your strength. This is the real art of living. Not to avoid pressure, but to rise above it with awareness and inner balance. So, as you step forward from this moment, carry these lessons with you. Feed your mind with positivity, move your body with grace, protect your peace like it is your greatest treasure, and remind yourself daily that clarity is born in calmness. Each small act of awareness is a step toward freedom from unnecessary suffering. May your mind stay light, your heart stay open, and your spirit stay grounded in peace. Protect your brain, and it will protect your life. Good luck on your journey of inner strength, and thank you for listening with presence and heart.